There's no better way to leave the world behind you than a fast car. Which is why I decided to take this Mercedes-Benz SL63 AMG and drive it all the way from southwestern Germany to my favorite island in the North Sea.
Now, 2015 marks my 5th year on YouTube, believe it or not, and this is actually my 50th car review that I'm shooting for this channel. So, being in a car that makes 585 horsepower is really great. The number 5 is really matching up for this one, I would say. And that's why I really wanted to do something different for this review and took this SL63 AMG to the island Foehr here in the North Sea, which is one of my favorite places. And it's a great little island to test drive a car, as you will see. So I'm excited for this one, I have to tell you. This car is immensely powerful and I think you're really going to enjoy this one.
The SL63 AMG is a true monster of a car. For a long time the SL name, which stands for sport and lightweight, wasn't really fitting anymore, because the cars had become comfortable and heavy cruisers, far from a sports car. But things have changed with this R231 generation. Aluminium makes the structure of this SL lighter. At 1845 kilograms, it's only 100 kilograms heavier than a Porsche 911 Turbo Cabriolet, which doesn't have a hardtop like the SL. The AMG tuned active body control suspension system features electronically controlled hydraulics that counteract against body roll, road imperfections and even the effects of crosswinds. It's hard to think of a better car for a 500-mile road trip than this 180,000 euro luxury roadster, especially when it packs one of the most powerful V8 engines ever put into a production car.
Now, before you guys yell at me in the comments, please catch your breath. I'm not talking about the 585 horsepower that this car makes. I'm talking about the torque. This car makes, wait for it, 900 Newton meters of torque. That's 664 foot-pounds, which is twice as much, or even more than that, than what a 991 GT3 Porsche makes. And it's even more torque than what you get in a Dodge Hellcat. So, as far as torque goes, I don't know many V8 cars that have more performance torque-wise than this SL63 AMG.
Internally called M157, this 5.5-liter bi-turbo V8 was introduced in 2010 and replaced the old 6.2-liter naturally aspirated engine I famously tested in the C63 Edition 547 back in 2013. Handcrafted in Affalterbach, the M157 powers a wide variety of AMG cars, but only the SL and S-Class get the full 900 Nm spec. AMG ditched the 537 and 564 horsepower versions in 2014, so 585 horsepower are standard now, along with a much needed limited slip differential. Go for the optional performance pack and you will hit 0 to 100 kph in 4.2 seconds and an electronically limited top speed of 300 km per hour.
Now I've driven this engine in its non-turbocharged version in the SLK55 AMG, in 2012, actually for my very first AMG review that I've done, but I wasn't ready for the performance that this engine delivers once AMG straps 2 turbochargers on it. I mean, it really takes your breath away. And it pops. Wow. I mean, if I'm not careful, I will hold a new land speed record on this island by the blink of an eye, and I've not driven anything from Mercedes and in fact too many other manufacturers that will crash into its speed limiter at 300 kilometers per hour like this SL63 AMG. I mean, the performance is completely effortless. On the Autobahn you barely have to be on the gas to travel at 250 all the time, and yeah, this car likes a good drink, but 15 liters on average, given how fast I was driving, is still pretty good. And yeah, the sound is just completely nuts. There's a little straight here, so I can give you a taste of it. Sounds a bit like a wild rhino that is ready for its lunch, I would say. You really don't want to mess with it. So what does this car actually feel like to drive? I have to say, the first thing that I noticed is how rigid and solid this car feels, and I have to tell you, the roads on this island here are not so great, as you're probably hear, especially in the little villages, which all have funny Frisian names, which even I can't pronounce without sounding like a dog. But yeah, the roads are pretty bumpy here, and the suspension of this car feels really well sorted to me. You have 2 different modes. You can put the dampers into sport, which is not something that I would do on these kind of roads here, but on the Autobahn, that's really nice, because then the dampening is firmer and gives you more confidence when you're doing really fast cornering at well over 200 kph. And all the controls of this car actually feel pretty nice to me. Okay, the steering doesn't deliver that much feel, but it's very precise and accurate, and it's not too fast actually off center. And okay, it's something that not so many people will care about, but driving high speeds, that's really nice when you don't have a steering that feels nervous when you're doing corners at over 200 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn. And that's really where the SL shines. But the other thing is, I've taken this car on my favorite back roads in the Odenwald, and I was really surprised how agile this car feels. I mean, everybody talks about the SL as the fat lady that is just a power cruiser, but that's not true for me. There are many great things that I can tell you about the chassis of this car. The mechanical grip is actually pretty good accelerating out of second gear corners, and from what I've heard from my colleagues who do this testing stuff for a living, this car will give a BMW M6 a proper kick into its kidneys on the racetrack. And I have to say, yeah, to me it really feels like that too. The throttle response is perfect for this kind of engine, not too aggressive. The brakes are optional carbon ceramics. They bite nicely, have great feel. The transmission here is the MCT automatic, which isn't the fastest system, it's just a regular 7-speed automatic, but it has a nice mechanical feel to it. You sort of have to pre-shift it on upshifts, otherwise you will run into the limiter of this car. That's something that I've already experienced with the SLK55 and with the C63, but this transmission has a nice mechanical feel to it, which I really like. And at lower speeds, for example when you're following a tractor, yeah, it's just very smooth and really nice to drive for that reason.
Only a few cars have 60 years worth of heritage like the SL, almost instantly making every new model a timeless future classic. In its current form, the SL has been on the market since 2012, and on the inside some of its age is visible if you've driven the new C or S class. But that didn't bother me at all. The interior of this two-look edition is still an impossibly comfortable and pretty place to spend your time in. Covered in the finest platinum white and black Mercedes designer Napa leather, accented by black piano paint trim pieces, the attention to detail and quality are simply stunning. Active multi-contour seats with massage feature, the air-scarf neck-level heating system, and a unique front-based stereo system are just a few of the SL's technical highlights that make this roadster one of the most desirable and sophisticated cars in its segment.
Now the kind of people who buy an SL probably have a summer house on the neighbor island Sylt, which is one of Germany's millionaire hotspots, and I have to tell you, some other Germans would actually consider this car a pimp mobile, because tuned SLs used to be highly popular among the red light royalty in Germany in the early 90s. But I really like the way this car here looks. I don't understand why people have a problem with the way the R231 generation of the SL looks. I really like the headlights, I love the whole look of this car. Maybe it's something different in person, but I'm super excited that I got the chance to review one of these, because I still catch myself staring at them whenever I see an SL on the road, and that's something that doesn't happen that often to me. In the end, I can really only repeat what I already said in one of my last AMG reviews, and that's that AMG cars for me feel like they are built by people who love driving. And I don't know how many Swabians are working in Falterbach that are willing to get up on a Sunday morning to go for a spirited drive, but their cars certainly feel like they are built by the kind of people who would do that. And yeah, that's the difference. That's what defines their character and soul for me in comparison to, for example, BMWs, which are great cars but often feel like they are trying too hard to be perfect, and for me end up not being that perfect actually. And yeah, that's something that I find in all AMG cars. They tickle my senses in the right areas. They are really cars that can be driven like a normal Mercedes, comfortable and perfect daily drivers, even with almost 600 horsepower. But when you are on a spirited drive, when you want to have something emotional, sound, performance, something a bit bonkers, something crazy, then AMG always delivers. And even though this SL has been on the market for a while now, I think if you are in the segment for a car like this one, you should really give it a look, because I've not driven many cars that are as exciting to drive as this SL63 AMG.